Welcome again on our webcast series, Workforce Resilience, a Vision from Leaders. Purpose is to gather and share with you key insights, vision from business leaders on how they have managed this unprecedented situation of COVID-19 and the impact of COVID-19 on their people. And today I'm very happy to have with us Dawn Miller. Hello, Dawn.
Hi.
Welcome. Dawn, you're the president for Chubb Insurance in Switzerland. Can you tell us a little bit more who you are and what you are doing?
Great. Thank you, Cédric. I'd be delighted to. So again, I'm country president for Chubb Switzerland. Actually, today is my year anniversary, so I consider myself very honored to be speaking with you on this day. In fact, I've got about 25 years in the insurance industry, so I won't take up time sharing all those bits and pieces, but definitely proud of a career that spanned many geographies and many aspects of our business. So really thrilled to be here with you today and really very much appreciate it.
Well, and thanks for taking the time and honored as well to have you today as it's this anniversary. So Dawn, can you tell us a bit of what Chubb is offering and doing in Switzerland?
Sure, happy to. We are a leading global property and casualty insurer. We're present in 54 countries around the world, about 32,000 employees. Really pride ourselves in the fact that we stay true to our principles when it comes to underwriting risk, understanding risk. We have strong standards, but we also like to exhibit local flexibility to align to our clients and distribution partners. And really has a strong focus worldwide, including here in Switzerland, on global mobility solutions and how can we contribute to duty of care within our employee companies that we insure.
So now reflecting on COVID-19, how have been the last 6 months within your team, your organization?
Mm-hmm. Certainly quite unexpected. So a little bit of a personal story in that respect. When I think about when I came on board, I remember a town hall that we had at the end of February here in Switzerland. It was actually, if you think back to 2020, I think it was a rather mild winter, if I recall, and it snowed that day. It was right at the end of February, and I took that as a great omen, actually. I moved to Switzerland. I was here for 2 weeks, then went back to London where my family is based, where my husband and my 2 boys are, and spent the next 4 months in lockdown in London, managing our business from London, trying to get to know a new team of people who hadn't really experienced that much change, had really tight team, super high quality, really well-performing business. So already it's a challenge. We all know that it's much easier to take something that is maybe in a little bit of a mess and make it better than it is to take a really strong company and continue to improve it. That alone was a challenge. In addition to, as we've all gone into lockdown, new things that came into our lives, and I know we'll talk about technology and such later, but again, just each of my days, not only was I waking up in the morning thinking about what 3 meals a day I needed to, organize for my children and get their homework moving and their studying going, but also how was I going to meet my colleagues and really make an impression more than just being a voice over a box, a voice in a little black frame coming through on the screen. Culturally very different. We hadn't, and the organization to that time had not had a lot of different cultures and nationalities come working in it as well. So really it was an interesting time. I tried to spend as much one-to-one time as possible. Ironically, as we were all getting used to using the big systems like Zoom or WebEx or what have you, all of my introductions I did with my team were all on WhatsApp. So just an opportunity sitting on a shaky mobile, but it made those introductions that much more personal as I met each one of our staff and then continued to stay in touch with them and really focusing the conversation not as much always about the business, but maybe about that person's watercolor project they told me about or a piece of art they had in their house that I happened to notice, that sort of thing. So I really tried to build those early days, all of us together, and I think our teams did amongst themselves around getting to know each other personally, because maybe even though the teams had been together for a long time, how well do they actually know each other in terms of personal interests? And we were all at a time last year and today where we all have a lot more appreciation for that. When you ask somebody, how are you? It's really meaningful. It's not just a passing comment like many of us used to do in the past. So from a personal perspective, it certainly was challenging. I came to Switzerland in July and I've been here ever since. So it was challenging from that perspective, really worrying a little bit in my own mind. Would I be accepted? What was I missing from a cultural nuance? And in that, making sure that the teams didn't lose any of their own momentum and they continued to work together and still trust each other. So definitely a challenging time, but certainly helped by the advent of technology and an enormous amount of patience between all of the teams for each other's personal situations. I was very impressed with many of our managers were very open about, here's my personal situation. I have a working spouse at home with me. My children are home. Let's be clear about the hours you'll be able to get a hold of me. Maybe it's between 5 and 10 in the morning, but not again until 3. And everyone sort of understood each other's ground rules and very much respected them.
Mm-hmm. So what were the needs that your people, your workforce did express, and how did you address them? And maybe if we focus on the health aspect, what did come into your radar?
To me, from I would say the first employee need perspective was time and space to sort of understand what was happening. You remember that first week? It was all everybody wanted to be. It was almost like something new, and we had even more meetings now than we do today, right? And everyone was trying technology. It wasn't really working. Sometimes the video worked, sometimes it didn't. How do you temper that sort of exchange to make sure that no one's getting frustrated with each other? So really, what our employee base, what I saw and I was hearing, was they needed time to settle and to temper ourselves and agree. Let's focus on what are the priorities of our business, and maybe some other things that we knew would be easier to implement in person, maybe new shifts in strategy or new leadership principles, etc., where you really want to co-create, because we didn't really know yet how to do that online. We said, we're going to address that. Let's move that by a quarter, and let's focus on what we know to be true in our business and focus on our values as a company, which are centered around respect and teamwork and customer service. Focus on that. So if we sort of gave ourselves those points to align around, and then try to give ourselves time when it comes back to the point of employee health to say, how do we all need to manage in this space? We started as many companies did, I'm sure. We started an internal home office well-being site, which was then very quickly amplified with corporate resources, which then provided not only trainings and learnings from different external providers, not only technology ones, but just taking the opportunity to learn across a variety of subjects, in addition to well-being courses, and also creating many more channels for outreach. And it was impressive as well to see our executives from around the world reaching into our businesses to make sure that people knew they were available to talk and to listen. And I found the conversations between employees and leaders across borders, across teams, to be much more real in some ways, right? Almost back to the point, asking people how they are and really, really taking note of the challenges and then trying to work on fixing them, some of them.
So we know that COVID initially triggered questions on the pandemic agenda of organization and the health agenda itself, but we know it went far beyond and it went up to mental health. So now if you reflect on that few months after that, how did you address the needs of your workforce in this regard?
Absolutely. Well, at first, speaking in particular for Chubb Switzerland, of course, mental health now has something that you'd like to think that you're thinking of as a leader, but now it is overtly on the agenda. In our sessions and our meetings, we ask the questions, how is everyone doing? Any feedback? Sometimes my very polite teams don't have much to say, and sometimes then I continue to draw it out. I think maybe, Cédric, as you know me, you know that I'm from the southern part of the United States where everyone tells a story. And I think that storytelling and creating an opportunity for people to share an experience that's maybe outside of their normal work task is incredibly valuable. I think I don't know a lot about it, but I can imagine there's some science there about what parts of your brain are stimulated. And so we created a number of programs. We created our Chubb Scout program, where we have individuals in the company that are focused in a named fashion around diversity, sustainability, social media, and charities that allows a different way to engage and bring people together. Also, a larger campaign that we had running across Chubb that we definitely took advantage of in Switzerland was something called the Hidden Talent campaign, where really we encouraged individuals to take a small video of themselves in doing something that they love: cooking, art, music, sitting and reading a book in the park. I mean, different varieties of sports, and those were then pulled together in a montage every week and broadcast across across the region, and no talent was too big or too small. So again, creating that sense of you're creating a community, which I'm not so sure sometimes in the fast pace of corporate America, just my thoughts, it always feels that way in the office. So being able to return to community is my hope, and where I'm trying to go with our business, that gives people a sense of a little bit of relief and a sense of comfort in their any mental health concerns they're having. Certainly, as well, the resources that we've seen in our company, and I'm sure many others out there, have increased dramatically in terms of access to medical resources, individuals you can call, and different sources of learning and engagement coming out from different sources. I will say that much of this, though, I'm conscious that it is a challenge, right? Because many of these resources are being delivered online. And as I opened with, we're all looking at the world at the moment through a little black box, and we really do crave that person-to-person attention. From a mental health perspective, now that the weather's nicer, we've also been really, really encouraging our teams to figure out, and we're helping them with that, who lives in their common postcode, and how about having a walking meeting? Meet up for half an hour, socially distanced walk in the fresh air. It gives you some sunlight as well, but also you can make that contact, and it maybe doesn't need to be that person that's in your team. Maybe it's just another colleague. Again, trying to bring different streams of keeping that sense of team, that sense of collaboration together, I think is very important, and makes people realize that they're not alone. Yeah. We have a significant amount of colleagues actually. We had a significant amount that just joined us last year, quite a few, and a significant amount that perhaps live alone, or they're in the city and maybe the rest of their family members are in the countryside in that example. And we keep an eye on, we try to keep an eye in making sure that everyone is engaged and no one feels that they have been left out or isolated. I think that is so critically important. It was always on the agenda. You want your employees to be safe and healthy at all times, but you're tackling it from everything's okay if I haven't heard. Now we're trying to tackle, I'm not saying that we're doing it perfectly, but we're trying to tackle it overtly. And it's on the agenda of all meetings that happen.
And so, reflecting on these 6 months now, what are the key lessons learned that will change your way of driving the business in the coming months?
Absolutely. I think we had a little deep dive there on a key one, which is around employee mental health and mental well-being. I think also the point around community, that we have an opportunity here to create a working environment balance, which is, I think we've all seen in action, and will be deployed in a variety of different ways. At the same time, we need to make sure that people are continuing to collaborate. So it's a matter of how do you create that culture and collaboration while recognizing that everyone's worldview and what they're experiencing in their lives is different, right? And maybe we all didn't have that appreciation in the past. Some people have really great access to Wi-Fi, others don't. Some find it constraining to work at home because they don't have the physical space to do that. Some are living far away and maybe don't want to take public transportation into the office and don't have a car. I mean, these are things that maybe in the past one would think of maybe more flippantly or not think of at all. And now these are real considerations that while not every exceptional need can be met, it's how do you create an environment that people feel comfortable that they're not being left out, especially as we all move back into an office environment more than we are now. Maybe there will always be some people who aren't comfortable coming into the office or not able. So how do you make sure that team dynamic persists? So I think a lesson learned is that we're not done, right? And there are aspects of the compassion and the caring and the gratitude around others that must stay. And then I fully intend to make part of our leadership team and our sort of way of working going forward. And having that appreciation that everyone's worldview and circumstance is different, but it doesn't change the value that they're bringing to the organization in their task or in their team or unit that they manage.
We are not done, indeed. We know it's a fast-moving target and things are going to carry on.
But we certainly know on that we're not done, but we certainly know what we can do, right? I often think about what if I had come into this incredible team that I picked up here. As I said, it was already running really well as a business. They'd not seen maybe as much change in the past, and I came in as this, crazy American coming in, and I often wonder what that would have looked like in a more normal year, so to speak. And not that I'd ever wish COVID on any situation, of course, never. But what it did tell us is that we all are resilient to change, and we have so much capacity to adapt inside of ourselves, right? And I think moments like this bring out that more in people, and certainly have us better prepared for our future.
In terms of leadership, it was inspiring listening to you and see how you did grasp that new team, new business, new culture. Now on the health agenda of an organization, a Swiss business, how do you see changes in the coming months or in the near future?
I think definitely, and again, thinking about health, which is about understanding both our employees' interests, where their passions lie, their capacity to work, and their capacity to take on new challenges. I do see an opportunity and perhaps even a necessity for all of our businesses going forward. I mean, I can imagine in the broader business community, but certainly for us, where people will have to take on maybe not an actual double hat, but maybe take on some additional responsibilities that are maybe outside of their core business area. And why is that? That's a little bit about being flexible to continue to modify and also about helping your colleagues. And there's that aspect, how does that go back to mental health? It's about, I think, the positivity that comes when we do help someone else get something done, when we're able to move a big boulder out of the way because we work together. And I know that sounds a bit lofty and a bit simpleton, but it's this has created a situation for all of us where we've had to be creative about how we solve problems. And maybe we didn't even realize how creative we had to be. And taking a step back and saying, if we came through last year, all of the insurance market changes, everything we've seen, then we can move forward. But what I'm looking to create, and I'm hopeful to create, is that environment when someone says, I'm not feeling healthy today, I don't feel comfortable with this, that they're able to articulate it. I don't think any leader can ever say they are all the way there, but all you can do is aspire and keep that door open. That was actually, Cédric, an interesting point of the WhatsApp introductions to everyone, is that everybody had my number and I have everybody's. So it does create a lot of free-flowing dialogue that might tense up if you put it onto a Zoom or a WebEx. But when someone says, hey, I've got a quick concern, can I talk to you? It's right there and we're all connected. So I think when I think about mental health and where we're going, it's about continuing to maintain that connectivity, because together we will all be stronger and prevail in that way. And we need to look out for those who aren't feeling as well and appreciate that that's okay. It's not a sign of weakness at all. It's okay, and everybody has a moment. Certainly, I do these bi-weekly newsletters to chat out to staff. And, I had a really it was the middle of January, it was really gray outside. I had a really blue week. I felt really bad. My family's still in the UK. I felt awful. And I told everybody about it. And I think, and from the feedback I had, everybody appreciated hearing about that. I didn't make it a one-page letter, but it was the odd sentence or two. And I think because we're all in this together as a team to be successful.
Well, thanks a lot, Dawn.
Pleasure.
You're from the southern part of the US where storytelling is a key thing. So thanks a lot for that fantastic story and personal one. Very insightful. And wish you all the best for Chubb in Switzerland, for the team, and for yourself in this new role. Wish you a very nice day.
Thank you so much, Cédric. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.